Whether you're doing it for a specific type of project you want to create and share, or just for your own personal fun, creating your own fictional characters, creatures, environments, and even whole worlds is a really fun and exciting thing. At the same time though, it can be a bit intimidating, especially if you don't have any ideas yet or just aren't sure where to start. Here are 5 tricks and general advice I have for getting started and making your own cool designs. For a full world-building project, or even if you just want to build context around the characters you want to make, I find the best place to start is by designing the natural environment. When you think about it, that is what everything connects back to. People wear clothing that is suited to the climate and terrain, animals are adjusted to living in certain environments, and architecture and tools are built out of the natural resources that are available. Once you have a general idea of what sorts of plants, weather, bodies of water, and other elements like this are around, you have a great starting point that more ideas will start to sprout from. For example, if I've created an environment with a thick layer of low-hanging fog and large trees that pop up out of it, I can then think that maybe the fog protects the people or creatures from giant predators that can't see below the fog. And maybe there are resources high up in the trees that they make dangerous trips for. Early on, you should be looking for reference images. Create a sort of mood or inspiration board that has maybe architecture, clothing, certain plants, or anything that seems interesting and relevant to you. I've said it before, but PureRef is the perfect tool for this, as well as for organizing what you've made. You can see your progress side by side and add notes. There will be a link to PureRef in the video description. Scale is something that is very important and surprisingly easy to mess up, especially when designing spaces or scenes with props and architecture in them. Your best reference point for scale is characters. Because you are a person, you should at least have a decent sense of how big something like a door or a tree should be relative to a person. When I was designing this house structure, I realized I wasn't paying enough attention to the size that a character would be in this space, and as a result, this barrel ended up as tall as a character would be. Imagine for yourself a barrel as tall as you are. That's just way too big. To easily avoid making mistakes like this, put a figure in for scale reference, and don't save that until the end. Do it right away so that you can save yourself the trouble of having to fix things later. My 4th tip is to just try a lot of things and throw ideas out there through sketches. If concept art is something you want to get good at, the absolute best practice you can do is coming up with an idea and drawing as many versions of it as you can possibly get out of your brain. It might start to feel more and more difficult to pull out new ideas, but don't overthink or worry about anything being bad, and just keep pushing yourself to keep going. It doesn't matter if something looks good or not, just put it out there regardless. Often, your first versions will feel pretty standard and typical of you, but later ones will start to break away from that and do things that are more unexpected. Things you wouldn't normally think to try and might be pleasantly surprised by. Finally, whether or not you plan to put your creations into a specific format to share with people, like a comic, game, or short film, it's good to at least have an idea of what this thing you're making would be. For one, it makes it pretty fun to imagine your work as this final, ideal product. I started this video game concept with no intention of it ever becoming a real game, but it's exciting to think about what it would actually be like to play, and that gives me direction for what to create next, like playable character actions and collectible items. And you never know, even if you started creating characters and worlds just for the fun of it, your passion for what you've made could one day turn it into some larger final product. Maybe you will end up making that comic or short film real one day. Hopefully you now feel ready to get started, or have an idea of what to try next for a project you've already begun. If you'd like more tips, here's my video that's specifically about designing characters. Thanks for watching!